Hey, it's Shabes, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week, from the 1st of April to the 7th of April. First, for the video that I thought was not good. I did not enjoy it. And that would be, unfortunately, from Mr. Ember Reviews, putting out the worst Pokemon movie ever. With the most menacing thumbnail. It's the worst one, okay? And he's not happy. And he's not happy in this video either. Classic. Yeah, he's a very grumpy grouch in this video. Drinking and having that stereotypical kind of AVGN type of persona. Oh, fucking, I mean, AVGN didn't go so far as to put a gun into his head and try to kill himself, but yeah, you know, it's kind of the same vibe, same wheelhouse. Now, everyone knew this movie was not going to be that good, or like, when we saw it, everyone was like, why are you making it? And it's baffling. There's no real point to it. And Ember doesn't really come to a conclusion about that either. He didn't want to dive into the directors because he didn't have that much information, I guess. I mean, fair. And you know, even if Canepa, if even Canepa is not really defending this movie's existence as a big proponent of CG and Pokemon, then you really got a problem here. So it's like, you know, I'm inherently going to be a little defensive, I think, about this movie. I haven't seen it yet, and I haven't seen the original in a long time, and I wanted to watch both of them before watching your video. But it got to Tuesday, and there's other things I have to do and other videos and stuff, and I was just like, I started downloading it. I started getting the CG movie, and I got like 5 minutes into your video. I'm like, I don't think I need to do this. I think I know what's going on. Ember does a pretty, it's kind of all over the place. He's very, I think it comes off a little really sloppy in this video. He doesn't seem to know what he's doing. He keeps changing the script a couple of times, where he starts going scene by scene, and he talks about like the opening scene before the opening credits for 10 minutes of this 30-minute video. And then he's like, look, see, we're going to be here for hours of me explaining how wrong this movie is, so I'm just going to go through a best hits. And then he proceeds to continue going chronologically through the whole movie, almost scene by scene, glossing over a lot of things, and a lot of his points end up being a lot more shallow because he realizes how over-bloated this video and how passionate he's going to be. But it just comes off as very ranty, and within the first couple of minutes, and then through the rest of the video, very tedious and overblown and just mean-spirited. I mean, you know, and just kind of wallowing in misery. Like, you just don't like, you hate this movie, and you show no secret of it, and you're showing a lot of moments of fatigue and unhappiness in the video. And like, I get it's hard to be happy, or I'm not saying you should be optimistic or something like that, but when you're tackling something like this, it needs to be digestible to an audience. And when you convey an emotion that's one for one what the audience comes out as, it's basically like, if you're going to put in the video you being miserable, you drinking to death, you shooting yourself, you spiral into depression over the Pokemon movie, then the audience is going to feel the same way. And I'm sorry, that's not what I want to experience. I don't think that's what many people want to experience. Like, you can, I don't know. I mean, I was a big proponent of like Nostalgia Critic and all that, and I feel like that's a lot of what his videos kind of do, but at least he kind of tries to make jokes, and I don't necessarily think you made jokes here. There was more like references to memes sometimes and that kind of humor, but you don't really go out of your way to make it for any levity, or maybe the levity is you drinking and then having taste bad. But even that got kind of repetitive, and it's a cliche for like old YouTube reviews, right? Like an old Channel Awesome and shit of them drinking and shit. That's an AVGN thing. But even he hasn't really done that very often anymore. And then I have seen it done very well recently with Electric Hobos. After the Rain video is hilarious because you know, he starts it like, you know, and then slowly go, ah! You know, it escalates, and there's an arc to it, and it was captivating in that way. So it's like there were still ways to do it, but it just came off the exact same sound every single time. So it came off as very repetitive, and you make very repetitive points like the animation's bad, which I got beef to do with that. You don't like how it looks stylistically, and you do say style a lot of the time, but at the very end of the video you do say the animation is bad. I genuinely don't think that. I'm looking at the movie that you're showing me, and that moves very well. And the animation, I think the actual physical movement of it is very interesting and very lively. And you're like, I don't care if it's an experimental blah blah blah, it's still bad. And sure, you know, I don't think I can see what they were going for, and this is me I'm trying not to make it a defense of the movie. I'm trying to make it more of a what your video did. But it's just like a lot of your arguments for me kind of felt like nitpicks and whining. It was very, very much a complaining video instead of holistic and like what probably happened here. What were the intentions behind this? You could have found some through line where, you know, this is a consistent thing through the movie, and talk about that and maybe give a couple of examples. And not just like, and then that part, how that was awful. Oh, and then this part happened, in like a list sequentially through the whole movie. And it's so exhausting. And I can tell you're exhausted doing it. So I don't know why at any point in your video you didn't step back and were like, man, this is really, it's like, rethink what you're making. And I guess it's like, oh, I've already dived so far into it. I don't want to have all that wasted effort. And it's like, that's not really wasted effort, because you saw that that's not a quite good trajectory to go in. So that's the sort of thing with reflection. And sometimes you drop a video because you don't really know how to go about tackling it. And then other ways you find the thing. I just didn't think there was a centralized focus to it, and this could have been way better. I think you can do this. I think you can do this video justice. I do think you can do this right. I just don't think the way you did it was all that enjoyable or informative. Pretty much. Another point about the I'm trying not to make it more about the movie, but here's some small things. But like, you mentioned how in the original movie there's a lot of still shots, and the camera doesn't move, or there's panning, and that's about it. But in the CG movie, everything's moving, zooming, zipping, dashing wherever, and it ruins the tone. I think it was a little shallow, the way you first kind of made, why is that a bad thing? But you didn't seem to understand why they do that, because obviously movement in that way with cell animation is a bitch. You would not be able to do the kind of motion that they're doing in CG in the cell animation they were doing at the time. Even now, like even the computer animation, that's still kind of a tall order. So they are practically doing this as a test and a kind of a showing of their skills with a very easy property. And they're not, I think it made sense that they were remaking a movie instead of making a whole new thing and kind of ruining a good story with potentially poor animation, right? Would you have preferred it was to be a brand new story and something additive to, you know? And also it's like, you know, you should make significant changes if you're going to make the Mewtwo Strikes Back thing. What would those significant changes be exactly? And it's also like, you keep insisting it's a one-for-one, shot-for-shot remake. And then the most of your video, you're pointing out moments where it's not a shot-for-shot remake, and why it's bad, and why those aren't good choices. I feel like if I watched this movie, there could probably... the thing is, right, you barely give it any credit. You actually give it zero credit. The most you give it is one shot where you're like almost there, but they didn't thematically tie it in right, or they didn't finish. It's like a half decent idea. That's the most you give this movie. That's bad faith criticism to me. This seemed very biased, wholly attack mode. You can't give this movie a fucking inch, even when it's trying to fix a continuity error in the original movie. you actually defend Pikachu using an electric attack against Golem and it working as a, look, it's to show how strong Ash actually is, and then when it contrasts, no, dude. I don't care if the anime has done that before. That's poor drama, because for the most of the series, the entire franchise, the anime series, they are trying to be like the games. They are trying their best to have the same characters, have the same world, have the same Pokemon, they're trying to avoid those. When they don't, it's a mistake. We shouldn't be rewarding it and calling it good storytelling and saying they never cared about it when that's not the case. The majority of the series, they are saying, this attack does this move, and it's this type Pokemon. They're not fucking, they're not like, oh, fuck the games. We're completely our own thing. They're not doing that. They're still collecting badges. All the town names are the same. Like, they're trying. And when they make a mistake, it's important to fix that if you have the opportunity like this. You're not giving this movie a fucking inch. Are you kidding me? It was the single worst thing in this video for me. Like, it was so transparently bad faith to me. Like, you can't even give it a fucking break. It was miserable for 30 minutes. But I will say, the end of this video, where at first you're like, I don't have a conclusion, and I was like, he doesn't even have a fucking conclusion. Like, that shows you how fucking messy this is. And then you actually do kind of have a conclusion where you're like, this was originally the worst movie because it's a duplicate of a thing, and this is why I justify it being the worst movie because it's a duplication without adding anything special or anything like that. And then like a king version of your, with a crown. I am not fully aware of your lore. There seems to be some lore there. But you come in and they're like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like a 30-minute video on a movie everyone knew was going to be bad. And, and you basically like lampshade your entire video of like, you're aware of what you just made. And I'm like, well, at least he's aware. And he seems motivated to really get back to work and make something genuinely really good. Because, I mean, I'm sorry I'm backtracking on something. There's a point where I said that this video could have been better. And you mentioned in your video with, I did the whole Pokemon retrospective. And I remember watching the video halfway through, I was like, wait, this is very glowing praise for the first movie. Like giving, like, really appreciating, like, tension in a particular sound effect, and like every single shot seems to be better in the original. And then I was like, wow, he must really love this original movie. And I watched your retrospective on the first movie, and it's only like 5 or 6 minutes, and all you say is kind of like, yeah, it's a decent movie, it's ups and downs. I wish this 5 or 10 this extra prologue was included in it, and like a third of the review was about that. And then you're just kind of like, yeah, Team Rocket's in there, and yeah, there's a thing, and yeah, there's a good villain, and I get it. You're making this was part of a retrospective that you're trying to do this for every Pokemon video the entire month, and you have to have something to say about all of them, and you're kind of pumping these out every day for a month. I feel you. But it's very interesting that you've suddenly changed your tone, and maybe it's the difference of 2 years. But like, you sound like you have so much more insight and interesting things to say about the first movie and appreciating it. There was a moment you said the first movie has a dour, a more like low-key tone compared to the rest of the series that you were appreciating. And I was like, that's a good observation. I like that. I wonder if he says that in this. No, you don't. You don't say that in your original review. You don't seem to appreciate it. You actually say in your original review, I'm pretty sure, it's pretty much standard Pokemon. The characters are pretty much the same. So that's kind of like a revelation sort of thing. It was like, oh, he must really have appreciated this movie more. Maybe, just maybe, the existence of this new movie forced you to go back and really appreciate that first movie. And really defend it and really take more of appreciate. And like, there's more to it. There's more to it. And I think that's really interesting and insightful, and you would be good at that. Hell, you put out 3 minutes of one frame, and I remember thinking about reviewing that on Digest, but I was like, I don't even have anything to say about this. It's like, yeah, it's kind of what it is. It was certainly interesting, though. or maybe I did talk about it. I just did not. I don't know. But you clearly have enough to say on it, right? So, what do you do? It's like, yeah, I hope I don't see more dour stuff like this from you, especially just for how sloppy it was. You just seem to be very miserable the whole time. I hope you make stuff that, oh my gosh, I wrote notes, so I forgot one thing. This also is like really bad. One thing you say, you complain. He says there's clip art that they use in the background of one of the buildings, which is the first Google result you get for Lapras. It's the Lapras image. Of course they fucking used that image, dude. It's the official art from Ken Sugimori. What's the problem with it being the first Google result? Why is that? You made it sound like an insult. It's the official fucking art. It's not like a fucking fan art or something. And he's like, oh, they used that instead of, it's like, as if they were lazy? That's not laziness, I don't think. I think that's a decent Easter egg. I was like, and like, he's like, oh, instead of making something diegetic with the art style. First of all, I thought you said you hated the art style. What would that fucking change? And B, why would that make that better? And B, what the hell how different would it supposed to be? It's not like they're redesigning these Pokemon. They all look exactly the fucking same. The only characters that look different are the actual human characters, which they're based on the original 90s designs. And they're close, but they're not good. They don't translate well into 3D. You can say that, but don't just be like, it's bad. Not gonna listen to you. And I don't know what it's a picture on a building. Why does it have to be the live action, like the CG picture of a Lapras? Why? Who cares? That was like a complete fucking nitpick to me. And and yeah, sure, maybe it was a very small thing for you because you didn't really, there was other points you dwelled on more, but there was stuff like that. It was just like, it's just like, shut up. Yeah, or I was not having it. I was belly aching. And you were belly aching about this movie, but 1-to-1, the transfer is the same. It is not feeling it. Not good. I think that was all I had to say about it. Hope you do. I'm looking forward to the next thing, because you seem to be very determined, and you're working a lot. So, hope you don't take this too harshly. But best of luck for you, sir. I'm looking forward to the next one, hopefully. Okay, let's, I don't know if I want to call them decent or not. I guess they're decent. But the first, I wanted to talk about some requests. And the first one is from Najbeb, who wanted me to talk about this Satumi The Neet video about Evangelion. It's a whopping hour and 39 minutes. And it's called Neon Genesis Reinterpretation, with a thumbnail that's kind of like Asuka control. The thumbnail is actually kind of important. So, I was dreading watching this video when it came out. I was subbed to Satumi, and then I saw it, I was like, oh boy. Because what this comes off as, just from the title and thumbnail and length alone, is, oh, you just think Ava's bad and you want to reinterpret it? Like, this is how I can fix Evangelion and make it better. That's what it came off as. It's like, let's fix this script. Because the Unique Nemosaurus actually does that a couple of times. So like, I saw this, I was like, oh, hell no. An hour and 39 minutes of thinking you can write better than, no. However, that is not what this is. This is a passion project. Part fan fiction, part AMV, part something. It's something. I've never seen something like this before. I don't know where Satumi came up with it. But basically, he takes every episode of Evangelion, kind of chronologically, and overdubs it and kind of narrates it. He has a second-person narration, and it's like you is Shinji. And he kind of narrates it the whole time, and he's very snarky, kind of has that memey personality, a little more sexual, a little more deviant, and you're fapping to Rei and whatever. And he's kind of rechanging some of the characters, like Rei is just an anime girl, Asuka's his ex-girlfriend, Misato's just his mom, and stuff like that. But it's very much window dressing, and you kind of get behind the joke and idea kind of quickly. But the thing is, I wouldn't necessarily know if it's fully a joke or not. That's why I think it's kind of undescribable. Because at first it seems just kind of like a shitposting meme thing, like kind of an abridged series, to the point where there's many points where Satumi syncs his voice with a character. Not like super abridged or anything, but like there's certainly, it makes it seem like the character is saying what he's saying, sort of deal. And it's mixed up all over the place, and it's very artsy in that way. And again, there's a lot of AMV sequences which look really interesting, and very intimate with Evangelion. He knows he knows his way around. So it covers every episode, kind of an abridged thing. I think this could have worked as a series, and maybe it was at some point and I just missed it, and you just deleted all the old videos and this is just the compilation that's left. But like, this seems like something you would watch as a YouTube series, where he would like reinterpret it episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and do the whole thing. And it has all 26 episodes, but the last 2 or 3 episodes include End of Evangelion, pretty much. And it's all of, samples from all different episodes and stuff, but mostly kind of focuses on the same episode each time, and kind of making little mini stories out of it, kind of reinterpreting it as more of a fan fiction-y kind of fun exercise. And it's very artistic and different and interesting. It's certainly again, I've never seen anything like this. And the thumbnail, like I said, there's something to it. At first I was like, it's kind of an artsy thumbnail. When I first realized what the video was, I was like, oh, I wonder what the thumbnail is. And then it's like towards the very end, I hate to spoil things, but it's like but maybe this would be interesting if you watch it knowing this. I did not know this, and then I was like, what kept taking me out of it was like, I wonder what perspective this is supposed to be. And it's like, because there's some points where he's referencing his eye, but he's not projecting himself onto a particular character. But I think it's supposed to be Asuka. But like Asuka's like a separate ex-girlfriend thing, but I think it's kind of from Asuka's perspective, and this is mostly revealed in he doesn't outright say I'm Asuka or anything like that. But there seems to be kind of, it leans towards that, at least when I could interpret out of it. So that was very interesting. But like for most of it, I couldn't take it all that seriously, because he's including a lot of jokes. There's several spans of episodes where Misato just emits Kirby sounds, like wow, yeah, or whatever. And then there's some Sonic, some Smash Brothers, some Mario. There's this like he interprets it to the point where like he has the Shinji character not become a pilot for a long time, so in his place is like other random pilots that get killed off or something, including Waluigi with like a tennis racket, or or the gun's jammed and has like just jam over it. It's very juvenile at times, and but generally really creative. There's a sequence in here that like he recreates a Pokemon RPG, kind of like a Gen 3 type of style battle thing. That was kind of cool. And there's little editing tricks that keep you engaged through the whole thing. And obviously a through line where you're like, where is this going? It's not like a big barrage, everything, because it's sequenced. I don't know how long each episode is. It's anywhere from like 4 minutes to 6 minutes, I would reckon. That's what it felt like to me. But yeah, it was a whole thing. It's very interesting. I don't know if it necessarily I don't know if it's trying to say anything necessarily profound about Evangelion, or like about something specific. He doesn't seem to like break the fourth wall and make it like about himself, I don't think. At least that's not how it came off to me exactly, which was what I was sort of fretting. I was like, oh, this is going to be about him. Not like it's a bad thing, but it was just kind of like it clashes with the rest of the video. He does embrace kind of Evangelion's dread and what the fuckness, I suppose. Of course, why wouldn't you, right? What a lot of it made me feel like, okay, this is, despite the clown makeup you're putting it on some things, you're not ridiculing it. You're not, because it's one of his favorite shows, as he says in the description. And it seems to be coming off in positive faith, despite Despite not like, not outright talking about it or just making fun and making a lot of jokes. It's mostly jokes. It's mostly that. But it has some nice little through lines and there's some thought put into it, and certainly an opus of sorts. Let's see, Magnum. I don't know if it's just an opus or a magnum opus. Is that even a thing? I don't know. It's certainly a monumental achievement, a creation here. Again, weird that you didn't release this in individual episodes and this was just a compilation, or maybe you didn't. I didn't see it. But that was kind of cool. Certainly interesting, very different. It was hard for me to really be riveted. I was not riveted the entire time. There was a lot of voices like, yep, check Twitter. You know what I mean? But whatever. It was cool. It was very interesting. And the other request video I got is from Jack's Boy, who has since unpatroned me. No, but he did pay for 1 month, so I'll take a request. And he's got a request from a Yoruu video. Where is Angel Beasts Season 2? Angel Beast! No, I'm sorry. Angel Beasts. I can't stop saying it. Season 2. Where is Angel Beasts Season 2? And this is this is kind of lackadaisical. It seems like it's one of the things Yoruu was like, I haven't uploaded a video in a while, let's just make something. And just kind of, reflecting on Angel Beats and how much he liked it and what he appreciated about the series. And it's like, he doesn't really, I think he has one news article. It's like, yeah, it was maybe confirmed in 2015. We never heard anything afterwards. Stuff like that. So, it wasn't like a legit, like, where is it? It's like, and it's off script. It doesn't seem to be scripted. And the visuals don't always match what he's talking about. They just kind of play generically for a lot of it because it's kind of a rant of sorts. But I think it's kind of interesting. And he says he's a part of a series, and I actually looked on his channel and searched the word 2, like the number 2, to see if he's done this in other videos. And he's done this for One Punch Man, and he did like a top 5 like things that we should get a season 2 of. And it's a popular formula. Certainly a lot of anime fans would want to know that sort of thing, so I can see why this got some traction. But it was pretty good. I don't have too much to say about it because it's just like, it kind of is what it is. Doesn't have any particular remarkable things about it that aren't also in other Yoruu videos that I think you would sooner want to check out. His Golden Boy video is still pretty good. Stuff like that. But I think it was pretty interesting. It's fine. It's decent. Alright, some other videos that came out this week that I thought were decent. OTAQUEST put out a Lane video. Serial Experiments Lane was ahead of its time. And, it doesn't necessarily dwell too much into the why it was ahead of its time. That's not quite the angle they're taking, so it seems a little more baity. But that's okay. It's a Lane video, so I appreciate that. And the guy was pretty chill. It's live action footage of him talking on camera with intercutting from footage. And the editing was really good in this because they really embrace what the show they're talking about. And Lane's very glitchy and what the fuck and kind of all weird. So they embrace that, and they do a lot of editing tricks that are very minor, but add a nice idea. And there was stuff that I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. I liked that. It delighted me. It gave me joy as a Lane fan. And it, one thing was a little weird about it was towards the beginning, they're like, let's go back to 1998, and they're setting the scene. And they have some deep cuts of like, Jay-Z released this album, and Bill Clinton was involved in this scandal, and they're kind of giving some American Western context. And then there's Lane, and so we didn't really do a Japanese context, which kind of was a little more important because that was where it was made. But come see, come saw. I get it. But it was in good faith. I did like it for a little neat thing. Kind of embracing some visuals that Lane had and kind of the what the fuckness. Although I did like that it didn't seem too much like a standard review, like this character and whatever. They kind of focused more on the family aspect in Lane, and kind of like what the overall world building is. It's like this company, which we can kind of relate to Microsoft, has this guy in it, and he wants to do this, and it's more like lore stuff. and less about like what happens in the show, or just, it's kind of a generic lane video. It didn't seem like that, which I appreciated for sure. And again, embracing the show that you're talking about. When you have an emotional show, make your video kind of emotional. If you got a high octane blood pumping kind of show, make your video dope. Make it fucking like explosive and cool, right? So you're thinking about those sort of things, and that's a good content creator right there. So just wanted to shout that out, and I enjoyed it. Very nice. Replay Value got a lot of videos out this week, and I wanted to praise it and shout out at least one of them. Why Death Parade's Flyers is even better than you realized. This is actually the only video I can really comment on, because from having seen the series, I'm sure the rest of them are okay. But with Replay, I think it's just so much more valuable when you've seen the show and you kind of can follow what he's talking about. But I don't think he necessarily writes for an audience that is new to it. He doesn't dwell on what the show is about and this character. He doesn't lead the audience, newcomers in. It's mostly for people who have seen these shows, which I think was kind of the premise anyway for these series. The 5 videos he did was like based on his audience polling or something, like what his audience wanted him to talk about, and that's pretty freaking ballsy to be suddenly like, oh, you want a Sangatsu video right now? Okay. And it just comes with one up. And they're all very decently well written and edited pretty uniformly. Nothing too spicy visually, of course, but certainly very uniform. And, if you got a guy who wants to constantly anime YouTube videos, man, the analysis, Replay's doing really well, and pumping them out in a way that faster than I've seen most people do well. I wouldn't say that they're the best definitive new video, like, oh my god, every upload this guy does is the bee's knees, right? But because that's tough to do on a daily. With this, in this case, it's like the fact that you got a 7-minute video out at all, I'd struggle to do that. As some of us who were like spend months on these other videos and come out with an incredible product, so we have strengths and weaknesses. I wouldn't have the mental fortitude to put something like that out, because I would constantly be stressing about like the details and like the but and holding myself back and making it perfect and fleshed out and like. But not to say yours isn't, right? It's a remarkable skill to just be like, here's about flyers. Yeah. Although with this particular Death Parade video, I thought that you didn't focus on flyers too much. It was more of the couching and the initial premise to you just talking about Death Parade and how much you like it. That's kind of what it came off to me as. It didn't feel super focused on flyers specifically. It certainly was for like, kind of couch it again, where it's like you talk a lot about it and kind of the initial perceptions, and then more about what Death Parade's trying to do in general, and then slowly working back in flyers. So, it wasn't like a what's in an OP, and I suppose maybe I was expecting that, but maybe I shouldn't have expected that. But it's certainly a fair enough argument. I don't necessarily agree with it. I actually think that the ED is much better for the tone of a series, and an opening theme, when you have it at the beginning of a show, that's an expectation, and then it subverts those expectations. So I get there's some value to that, but then you do that every time. Once an audience, the fact that the OP plays every time for me makes me kind of be like, is this at some point going to not subvert my expectations? Because once it does it once, I don't know. It's not a very strong argument. I just vastly prefer the ED in terms of like what I think about Death Parade as, and the OP is more just kind of a bop on its side. I love Bradio. I fucking love Bradio, and the OP is certainly well done, but it's tonally, I just don't know if it's 100% the right choice, and it kind of soured me to a couple things with the series overall. But it's been a long time since I've seen it, and I'm also in a much better place, a much better critical place, because I'm far less of an asshole about my media. I'm much less of a critical bitch. But I appreciated that you gave coverage to a very older show in comparison, and a fairly well-structured argument. But that's kind of my sense about it. Congratulations on putting out fucking 5 of these videos out. I didn't watch all of them because there's some that I definitely don't want to watch because I haven't seen those shows yet and I don't want to be But good job. Nice one. Got a video from MicMix. Somebody recommended to me. The Beauty of Arte. Arte. A character analysis. This is a show that's coming out this season, I think. Like, he was using, like, PV footage. And, but mostly this was a manga video. So I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah, manga video. I know how fucking hard that is to make. Sometimes. Especially the kind of effort that this guy was putting in with very specific panels and showing them in that nicely, that kind of like the fun moving them around kind of thing. And it was tasteful in that way. And I really appreciated that he's talking so soon about an anime that hasn't even started airing, especially one that's not high profile. I looked at his other videos, and he mostly kind of talked a lot about Vinland Saga and Demon Slayer, and those are doing really good numbers for him. But I'm happy that he's picking up a mantle that doesn't seem all that popular, or definitely not all that popular, I don't think. And doing a very nice job with the character analysis here. I certainly liked it. I don't have too much negative or critical things to say about it. I just think it was very interesting. I don't have too much critical things to say, but it was more just kind of like, again, it didn't like wow me, but that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't have to. But yeah, I liked it a nice deal. Yeah, it mostly focuses on the character, this particular protagonist, and it's very textually backed by a lot of points, and it's broken up pretty evenly. This guy's pretty good. I like it. So it's like, if you guys aren't subbed to him, he only has 3,000 subs. If you haven't heard him before, I'd check him out. He got some good. He seems to have a lot of popular Vinland Saga videos, and if this video is any indication of his craft, I think it's a pretty solid channel. That's nice. Good job. And I'm really on the fence of whether to call it a decent or best video. It's very much in the middle for me. I think I'm going to lean a little more towards decent, only because, well, I'll tell you. First, I'll tell you what the video is. It's another TeamFourStar video. I'm so sorry. This is the 3rd fucking video I've talked about them in a row. Well, at least they're pumping out content, right? Better content, and now it's even better. It's because it's like, oh, it's warming up. Unabridged was bad and still putting out every week. That animation they did was pretty cool, and I wanted to shout it out because, like, hey, there's something else at least. Answers my question of what the hell else are you making? And then Kaiser Neko, Scott Freeze, I don't know, one of the members. I'm pretty sure he's the editor for TeamFourStar, like the main editor guy. He did like all those major edits for Dragon Ball Bridge, which he's gotten pretty good at what he does. Pretty good. He made just a regular ass AniTube video, just on his own, not really associated with TeamFourStar or anything. Didn't have a late logo much attached to it, besides just uploading it to the actual TeamFourStar channel, which is like cool. It's like, I don't know. When it's very just clearly you, I would have preferred it to be on your own channel. I'm pretty sure you still have your channel. I'd have to check, but I get you want to put it on the channel with more subs and it's going to get more viewership. Sure. But it's also a B-Stars video. B-Stars is the name of the video, if I didn't say it already. And that really sounds like you just didn't know what to call it. Because everyone and their mom has made a B-Stars video. And I've avoided most of them. Because I will watch it. I just haven't yet. Because it's like, oh my god, I want it to be done first. I think B-Stars the manga finished. So that's a good sign. So it's like, we'll get to the anime finishing, and then I'll watch all of the anime. That sounds great. I'd prefer that to waiting. So I'm holding off. But I decided to check this out because I was like, this is a rare instance of a TeamFourStar guy just dropping the pretense of the TeamFourStar thing and the major original projects and just making a regular AniTube video. Again, it's like, since there's so much B-Stars content, what he had to say, I don't think, was all that special, which is why I think it's more than decent for me. The content itself is very, yeah, okay. You know, it's like everybody's kind of covered. It's picked apart. It's what is it, like the bone is licked dry or some licked dry. Picked dry, I think, is the name of it. But it was an enjoyable video for being how, you know, kind of like everyman it was. Editing was sick. He has it all in like a cropped widescreen thing, and it's very tasteful. He has like a bloom to it, kind of like a filter on everything, and he does a lot of fun things, a lot of fun little edits. He flaunts it a little bit, and it's like, ah, yeah, cool. Okay, I can dig some of this, especially since we rarely, if ever, see something like this before. So I was cool with that for that reason. I certainly enjoyed it for that. And while it didn't have anything super remarkable to say, I think he had a good point that I'd never heard was also I before I say it, actually I'm just gonna say it. Him mentioning the voice for the dub, the actress who voices Kairi in Digimon Adventure voices the bunny in this, and it's like, you ever wanted to hear her say these lines? There you go. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And as I said, as I was gonna say, I get that there's a bit of a hypocrite of me of like, I can tell I can tell that he didn't have anything original to say, and yet I have been avoiding most Beastars videos, so how would I know that? I get the hypocrisy. I don't know, it just didn't seem... I know a fair deal about Beastars from what I've been hearing on Twitter and all that, and so it didn't sell... I've seen some Beastars videos, and this just didn't seem like anything like, wow, this actually kind of convinced me. You know? And it's like, I'm happy you really liked Beastars and enough to make something like this that we haven't seen in a long time, if ever. And that was really cool to see. And honestly, I hope he does more. I'm hoping this could be a little something. I don't know if it will. This seems more of a flash in the pan type of thing. I don't know how much support he's really getting for something like this. But it's pretty good. I think you're pretty good at it. If you had like, you know, material and content that was like really different and interesting, not that this wasn't interesting, it was just kind of like, fine. It was fine. Yeah, that was cool. I liked that. Okay, and now I'm going to talk about the best videos of the week. This is so good. Oh my gosh. First, we got a video from a newcomer to Digest, but this guy hasn't uploaded in a while. From AnimeAjay. I think that hopefully that's how you pronounce it. Ajay? AnimeAjay. Evolved Visuals! Digimon Adventure 2020 Animation Breakdown Episode 1. It's a very uniform robotic kind of title, but this is basically an animation breakdown talking about the staff and the storyboarding and crediting certain animators praising a particular episode for its animation. And he did this for Dragon Ball Super back in the day, and then he hasn't uploaded in a long time because I think he was going to do Broly, and then Broly is incredibly ambitious to do for something like this. Because, I mean, that's just one episode, and then, you know, Broly's a whole fucking animal. But I gotta, you know, but like, he's very good at it. It's literally the equivalent of watching one of these Sakuga bros on Twitter, you know, they make their threads and stuff and whatever, kind of as a YouTube video. And for the Digimon episode, which, you know, I watched more than half of it with a friend, and I don't know, I guess we were more baffled and confused about why it existed at all, more than the actual animation. The animation is very good, and storyboarding, yes, I agree. But this was really cool to see someone from the sphere, who's like a denizen of the sphere and not trying to pose as one. He really seemed legit, as like, yeah, he knows what he's talking about, and has his sources down down packed as a YouTube video. And it's like, you know, it's very weird to be back. And I'm so happy he is. This was really good. Because again, it's like super unique, especially for somebody who's only been doing Dragon Ball content. You would think a Dragon Ball channel would just be homogenous and kind of narrow focus. It's like, how much do you really like other anime besides Dragon Ball? It comes off that way for a lot of these channels, in my opinion. But he's definitely not like that. And I really appreciate that he has an intimate understanding of Toei animation in particular, to the point where he's not just talking about Dragon Ball. He's not just talking about Dragon Ball, but he's mentioning Precure and like giving credit to Star Twinkle Precure and knows what that, like for someone you might stereotypically think is a Dragon Bro, a Dragon Ball Bro kind of thing, like only talking about that and they only care about that, and like he would be mad. Like this is like a guy who would be mad that Dragon Ball Super got shelved in favor of Geiki no Kitara, like all those guys that got actually fucking angry. No, he's actually like, man, Toei's consistent production with Geiki no Kitaro, and then they're working on the Dragon Quest movie, the Dragon Quest TV series, and most of those episodes are good. They're looking great as a studio. It's positive. Oh, I'm sorry, One Piece as well. It's Dragon Ball, One Piece, Precure. He has a holistic understanding of it's not narrow-minded. And again, he knows the terminology, he knows the staff, very intimate with the material, and being genuinely earnest about this particular stuff. He's not being overly pessimistic or masturbatory or like overpraise kind of thing. And it's great. I really like it. And he's a great content creator. I've seen his Twitter threads about Dragon Ball, about the various different releases. It's so interesting. It's crazy that such a popular series, one of the most popular series in the West, have had such a tumultuous, eclectic release type thing. Like it's been through so much, and it's insane of how much production history there's behind this and the release of it. And he seems to have a firm grasp of that with his Twitter threads, at least. Probably has a video on it. I know he has the don't buy these Dragon Blu-rays, Dragon Ball Blu-rays that Funimation just put out. That was a whole stink, and he was certainly a part of that. But in a again, not a antagonistic or fanboyish kind of way. He's great. I really hope he makes more content because I really enjoy watching the videos, even though the video themselves is very minimal. It's like one static visual, and then he has the like he has his highlight reel, but mostly like stills with various storyboards and everything. It's very uniform in that way. In the corner here, and then there's kind of sort of in the back, sort of has some cohesion, I guess, some visual interestingness. And it's a very uniform type of video, very kind of plug and play. But that's all you really need for stuff like this, because it's really the content that matters. And he's not trying to make like a visual spectacle about it, Especially if he wants to do more like this. It's like kind of like an episode review, but factual and has information and specific details, right? It's just awesome. He was great. Loved this video. Next is a Kamimashita video about Nausicaa. When I saw this, I was just like, yay! Because it's my favorite movie, and we need some of that. This is We Are All Just Afraid: Lessons from Nausicaa, and it's not like a definitive character analysis of Nausicaa or something like that, and doesn't talk about the manga. No hate on the manga. I'm just saying, most people but he's appreciating a lot of her aspects that can be related to what's happening now in terms of our current world climate, and he's talking about the lessons and what she had to go through, and how she handled certain situations in ways that can be helpful and reflective on our own lives, especially when we're in quarantine and stuff, and kind of not to go out there and embrace the virus or something like that, the way she embraces the toxic jungle. Doesn't go that far, of course, but it's more in a mentality state of like where are you physically, and how in her relation to technology and everything, and kind of like how humanity embraces and tries to lean on certain things, and what she leans on differently, and kind of reflecting in that way, and it was very well written. I'll tell you did some kind of interesting things with the editing here. Because it's a Ghibli film, you really gotta worry about that, because they'll just manually take you down. And best of luck for this video to keep being up. But you did some stuff that I thought was really interesting. There was like little shifts in the editing, or repeating certain things and mirroring some stuff that didn't feel intrusive. I still noticed them, of course, because I'm an editor. But it was cool in that way. And it was just very clever. It was interesting. And yeah, I'm very biased. It's a Nausicaa video. so it's going to be in the best videos, just as long as it doesn't suck, which it did not suck, in fact. It was very interesting, and I just really like that it related it back to what's currently happening in a way that was unique to, because most people who are referring to COVID are just talking about it in the frame of like what to do when you're cooped up inside, you know, and it's like, yeah, you know, we're gonna be in this for like months, right? You can only make this video once. I really like that you were actually finding media to actually relate this to and be like, you know, maybe someone should actually take something from it and not just like distract yourself. You know, it's not just this anime is not simply escapism. It's something we can learn from and reflect on our own lives. And praise and power to you. Very nice job, Kami. I really enjoyed that. And I'm not biased. I swear it. Fucking big boy over here, Land of the Lustrous, a perfect adaptation from Jack Under the Scope, and nice, Mr. Nice Guy, Chris, nice guy. I think it's just Chris. Why am I even? We're on a first name basis. Whatever. Look, okay. So they're talking about Land of the Lustrous here, and relating it to how the manga and how it adapts into an anime. And Nice does it again with this incredible multiple he makes a manga video. Makes that shit move. Fucking Adobe fucking After Effects fucking it moves, dude. And there was a lot of really cool ideas at play. There's just numerous fucking it's almost 12 consecutive minutes of that. And then especially the first paragraph, first 30 seconds or something, you flip through like eight different examples, and you didn't have to do that. You could have done like 3, but you do like 8 or 9. It was crazy. And it became a little excessive at points, I will admit. And this is coming from someone who was also very excessive in their editing sometimes. It's like, I did it because it looked cool and I had the idea. And I was like, I can make this move like that, you know. I get that, and I fully support this sort of mentality, you know, as long as you're not burning out. I hope you literally don't get carpal tunnel from this. I'm hoping you're okay. Because that's definitely not sustainable. What you did here was incredible. And you realize it. But thankfully, it's a 24-minute video. He did that for fucking 24 minutes? What? Thankfully, it's more of a half and half, because this feels more like 2 videos. Jack talking about the strengths of the manga and why the manga author makes such evocative, basically explaining the evocative nature of the manga and what makes it so effective as a manga. And then talking about what makes the anime so great in its own way. And like, I think the key point that you have here, and of course, Jack is really great with his research and actually getting interviews from the director and actual sources and stuff. And has a lot of quotes from the director, especially where he's like, yeah, we know we can't necessarily replicate this manga faithfully in the same dynamic way that it does because of the strengths because, you know, anime and manga have different strengths and weaknesses. So we want to apply the strengths that anime has, color, music, the fact we can move the camera everywhere. And he's like, yeah, I think CG, this is the logical choice why we use CG. And it's a deliberate choice and not just because we can or whatever. And so, you know, Jack obviously defends a lot of the decisions that Landless does and explains why it's fantastic as an anime in the second half of the video. It's a very, almost down the middle, here's the manga section, here's the anime section. And that's fine in most circumstances. But to me, when you say perfect adaptation, I was expecting a lot of the things you were saying in the manga video would then translate to the anime portion of like, here's the cool thing that the manga does, this trick with the speech bubbles, for example, and then you would show that with the anime in particular. And you do that, but I think it gets lost in the shuffle with the production history and a lot of the unique things that the anime does. I think the actual flip-flop of like shot for, I'm not looking for explaining a shot for shot, this is why this works in the manga, this is why this works in the anime. That would have been kind of excessive and a little redundant and scatterbrained. I get that this is very structured. I understand why you did it this way. just the kind of the way it came off to me was I kind of lost in the shuffle of like, yeah, these are all points of why the manga's great, and here's all the points why the anime's great, but the meshing of the two and why it's the perfect adaptation, it didn't quite click for me. I get everything that the anime did, and I think it's great in that way, and I believe pretty much all the points that you said. I think they were convincing. There was just the kind of the lost in translation when it came to the adaptation argument of like, why did it adapt well? There are certain points that you do towards the end of the video again, but it's holistically, it kind of was like, this is very good. It's just, you know, not fully like, oh, ZOMG type of thing. Also wanted to mention with Nice's editing with the manga, and this is tough for me to say because I would have done this too. And, you know, this is kind of me reflecting on, and because I'm going to be making something kind of similar to this, but not to the point where I'm using fucking After Effects and moving every, you know, not as much as I used to with, probably not. I probably will. I don't know. Here's what I'm trying to say. There are moments where it was just distracting, the movement. I think that the video, it was really good, and points where Jack was trying to make a point about the manga, and your movement kind of took away from what he was trying to say, because you weren't showing the actual panel. You were showing your animation of the panel. Because at first you're showing like a blank thing, and then suddenly a hand pops up. Or like a character is moving across a screen the whole time. I, as someone who had not actually read the manga, never mind intimately enough to know exactly what the original panel was, it just seemed kind of weird that so much of it was animated when you're talking about a medium that isn't animated. And you're like, how is it? This is why it's well adapted into animation. So you're trying, I would have imagined when you're trying to show something like this, you're trying to show a contrast of still image to animation, and you're moving the manga here for most of it, and you're like, this is, but it's like you're the middleman here, because there's the original manga author that did this, and then there's the anime that did this, and then you're introducing a third element which is different from both anime and manga, which is moving manga. And you know, I think it's a different, you think, oh, it's no different, it's just moving the panel. No, it's not. It's how you move it. I think there's a whole art form to it, and I think it's a very exciting medium for sure. But it just seemed like a middleman in that way, and I thought it didn't hinder the entire video to where I was like, you should never have animated the panels. How dare you? I'm a purist. I'm not saying that. Christ, no. But there was moments where it detracted from what Jack was trying to say. Is what I think I'm saying. I wish I wrote down specific examples. But as someone who's edited a video like this, I was hyper paying attention to the visuals to where I just kind of drowned Jack out personally. And maybe that's just me. Maybe other people won't have that problem, but maybe some people will with how no one's there's certain edits, you know, only you've made them, right? It's not like you're taking from an anime that someone's seen or a manga that someone's read. Again, it's a new medium. You're introducing new media, and people could easily be smitten with that. It's cool. I'm not going to say it's bad, like some purist, right? But sorry to repeat myself several times. But yeah, that's just kind of where it came off to me. It was just detracted. It was like, that's not really the same thing. When Jack is saying this, oh, here's one point I think, and maybe it didn't take that much detail. Maybe it didn't like affect it that much. But there was points where Jack was talking about placement of speech bubbles, where it's like speech bubble here, girl above land, the water, and a speech bubble here. So the eye is going like this. But because you're animating it, the eye is only drawing to the character because she's moving. So it kind of was detracting from the point where it's like, look, this is how your eye travels from boop, 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 boop. But then you're showing something different. You're like, boink, like word bubble pop up, nice, with a character moving, and I'm kind of looking back and forth, and then another speech bubble, ooh, and still looking at this way. It's just different. It's just it's not really the same. I think there's points where you could have, and you didn't animate everything, thank goodness. First, only because it's like how poor you poor fucking thing doing that to yourself, but also because I think that would have started becoming a little tiring. I'm happy you mixed it up, because then the animation becomes exciting when you see it. It's nice to do that in spurts. You don't want to do that everywhere. But then, yeah, it was just like, that was sort of kind of where I was coming from it, where it's like, I love that you did it, but there were certain points where I was like, you probably should have left that. But still, Jack knocks it out of the park, along with Nice making it an out of the park thing, Jack hitting a home run, and then Nice getting it past over the green wall. My voice is very dry. It's defending. Great video. I really liked it. And lastly, I do want to talk about what I thought was the best video of the week. Mainly just because it's like, man, he killed it. And I don't know, I've talked about his videos a few times. No, I gave him the best at some point. Once again, I'm talking about a Stevem video. I skipped your Mario one because it wasn't technically anime. But, and that was an amazing video too. And a lot of those techniques are carrying into this one with the way you have like the animatic, with the carrot, with the director, with Miyazaki talking. Like that stuff was beautiful. And you're really being more tasteful with your edits, and it's just awesome. Whisper of the Heart, The Tragedy of Kondo. And I was also reflecting on it. This is just more culmination of like, you're just stacking onto your own library because you're referencing, he worked on Sherlock Hound, here's my video on it. He worked on Nemo, here's my video on it. And you've already talked about Goro, you've talked about Miyazaki, of course, and I don't remember if you've done a full thing on Takahata yet. Can't remember. But of course you're going to talk about Kondo. Of fucking course. And it's so perfect. And it was well structured too, where at first there was a part where I was like, I feel like he's talking about Whisper of the Heart too long. There's too much of the video was about, even though this video was about Whisper of the Heart. I thought I was just more smitten with the idea of you talking about Kondo. But then when you actually get to he died of overwork, this is bad, and you really go into that conclusion paragraph, almost rant sort of thing, which was so perfectly kind of holistic, and like this is a reference on burnout, on my burnout, on the industry as a whole with the Animated Dormitory project and all of this stuff. And it's ironic that Miyazaki was doing these Toei strikes, and then he's involved with Kondo's death, and you just had such a firm grasp on it, as I knew you would. And so it's okay that Whisper of the Heart took the majority of it, and it was just mostly about that analysis. And however long, proportion wise, it was enough. It was fantastic. You do a great job with this shit, and I know you did. I know you know that. So fuck. And I gotta say, you really get what Whisper of the Heart's about. And I'll be fully honest, I have not seen it yet. I don't know why. I think I've started it several times, and I've just been kind of bored by it because of it's kind of mundane. But you explain why it's mundane, and you actually talk about it in a way that's like, I could pay attention to it. It's not just because we're friends, I swear. I like to think we're friends. It's not just because of that. It's just you really get it. You really fucking get it. And you've been getting so much better at talking about media over the last year or two, and this was just excellent. You did excellent fucking analysis of Whisper of the Heart, and really getting a whole idea of the film without like feeling you have to talk about this. I didn't feel spoiled to it, and the movie's never clicked with me, having never even seen it. I never even finished it because I basically dropped it, but not in a bad. I don't mark it on my list. I just haven't seen it yet, sort of deal. But I'm definitely going to now at some point. But it just made me appreciate it astronomically more. And of course, Kondo. I knew you'd handle Kondo perfectly. But the analysis was fucking cherry on top with talking about this movie. It was excellent. I loved it. Damn. Yes. I don't know what else to say about it. It's like, yeah, your idea with like the fantasy, knowing the idea with contrasting the fantasy with reality, and that your take on the dub was very like it could have been way more mean spirited. It's a tad mean spirited, but you don't dwell on it. Thank you. It's okay if it's okay for people to have these strong opinions about certain things, like with dubs and everything like that, so long as you don't dwell, and it's because I just think it weighs the video down and whatever. But I'm happy you talked about it. And I was thinking about it, actually, where the way that the character is animated singing Country Roads, and it's, like, perfectly synced to the Japanese, it's like, yeah, I bet the dub is going to have a really bad time. And he's like, yeah, it's not good. Yeah, jeez. But I was happy you were the way you handled that was very tasteful. Anyway, gosh, of course. When the minute I saw you were making it, I was like, yeah, that's going to be a banger. Damn. And maybe again, I'm just biased, but heck yeah, man, that was sick. I loved that. Best video of the week. And I think that'll do it for this episode of AniTube Digest. Here are my patrons. Thank you especially to Flugmorph, my anime pod, Najbeb, Unique Namersaurus, and Yellow Cheese. You guys are freaking dope. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. Well, it's not podcast quite yet, but people may as well treat it as such. Thank you, everyone. Also, if you binge the show, if you've watched all of them, I really appreciate it. It's really cool. Looking forward to more videos. I don't know why haven't. I used to be good at ending these videos. Oh well, so much for that. You guys have a great week. Yo, peace.